everybody, how you doing? My name is Dave, and if you're trapped inside, I got a $200,000 synthesizer in your lap, you can call me Daveypoo, the mobile music minstrel. How you doing? That's right, I'm in lockdown like a lot of you folks out there. Please stay safe, please stay inside. But the nice folks at Synclavier reached out and said, hey man, would you like to try a Synclavier? And I said, oh my god, are you kidding me? Okay, this is like the unattainable of unattainables, the Synclavier, okay? I was a freshman in college. It was my first semester of college when Frank Zappa died. Now, I was a huge, and still am, a huge Frank Zappa fan. My father liked Frank Zappa, so I've been listening to Zappa since I was really, really young because it came from my dad. And I had been reading an article in a magazine that I bought. It was like a Zappa magazine. Like they put out a one-issue thing that was just all about him and pictures about him and articles about him. He was talking about something he was working on, excuse me, and it was an album called Civilization Phase 3. And it was all done on the Synclavier, and he was talking about the Synclavier, and he was talking about the album Jazz from Hell that he did on the Synclavier and what it was. At the time, in the late 80s, he made it sound like this is the ultimate. It can sound like anything. I have the entire world of instruments at my fingertips. I can make this thing sound like any instrument, so it's just the most amazing synthesizer ever. It was $200,000 around the time it was released. So it was one of those things that only the richest of the rich people had. You know, kind of like a Fairlight or something like that. Just only a handful of people ever really got to play with these. The rest of us schmoes just dreamed about it. What's so cool about this is that now I have this in my lap, which is it's just ridiculous. Like that, it shouldn't be allowed. So here we go. Let's dive into Synclavier Go. I'm hosting this in 8 Matrix as I always do. I'm just amazed that I even get a chance to play around with this at all. So this is what you see when you fire up the AU, okay? This is the tone. I don't know, it's just a sine wave. The first thing that I did was I chose the first patch over here. You got to click the red buttons because the Synclavier was all red buttons. You get this, which is such a, you know, it's almost the, I'm going to turn this up. It's almost the sound from the beginning of Beat It, but not quite. That was actually a Fairlight. That is such a cool and such a specific sound to the Synclavier. It definitely sums up a lot of how it sounds. So this is, I think it's a combination of FM synthesis and additive synthesis. Additive synthesis is kind of like a Hammond organ. The Hammond organ has the drawbars, right? And each of the drawbars represents a different harmonic of the overtone series, which you use in various combinations to make the instrument sound certain ways. So you have that aspect in here, I believe. You also have frequency modulation. By modulating a frequency, you can get it to create a new tone, okay? But I'm not going to go too much into that because I haven't programmed it. I haven't played it. I'm just amazed that I get to mess with the sounds, and then I get to have something like this to play with. I keep trying to tap on the name of the thing for the preset, and it's actually the red button. So now, I was on the Audiobus forum, and whenever I get a new app, I usually go to the Audiobus forum and see what everybody's talking about that particular app. Up until then, I didn't have it, so I didn't need to be a part of the conversation, but now I do, so now I do. One of the things that somebody suggested was they were like, oh man, I took Synclavier Go, and I put it through FAC Alteza, and it was unbelievable. And so I did that, and it was unbelievable, and so I thought I'd make an entire video about it. So I'm going to fire up FAC Alteza in a second after we go through some of these sounds. So that's brassy brass. I don't know how brassy it is. That's more brassy. These are definitely antiquated sounds, right? You have to kind of be into the thing. You have to be into the sounds. You have to be into having a Synclavier. Do I think that this method of synthesis is viable now? Sure, if you want to dive into it, anything's viable. But, at the end of the day, the only people that are going to buy this are people who know the Synclavier. You got to be into this sort of thing. And there's interest and coolness here. So if I were to go up to the top here and just quickly, if I were to switch to timbre, you can see this is how you actually program the synth. You click one of these buttons to choose a parameter, and then you move the silver knob here, and it's incremental. It's like it was an analog knob originally, so if you only move it a little bit, it goes slowly, but the further that you move the knob, the more swiftly the value of the preset goes up or down. I don't know how much I'm going to get into programming this. Maybe I will. Maybe that's something like I'll find fascination with it, like I did the VCS3. But I don't know how much I'm going to dive into this particular synth. It's not really my thing. But I appreciate that they kept the whole design aesthetic. And, I mean, why else would you do this? Otherwise, you could just get a bunch of the presets. Part of the fun of this is having the actual recreation of the synth. So, you get to use it however you want. Ooh. Okay, so let's go to tags, and maybe let's go to brass, and we'll see. Okay, that's good. That doesn't have too much of a release on it. Lasts for a little bit. I wanted something with a shorter release because I really want to show off how awesome FAC Alteza is. So, yeah, you could go through, you can program this. I don't know that it's my jam to program this synth, but I like it. I love that it's here. And I love that it's available. I love collecting software versions of synthesizers I will never own. Because I don't have the space for all those synthesizers. I don't want to have to keep them all up. I don't want to have to take care of them. But I can have them all here and they stay perfect and they stay in tune. Okay, so we'll use that. Let's show off FAC Alteza a little bit. So we'll run in here. Now this is just the default preset here. That is just magnificent. It truly is. Fred has done something wonderful yet again with this app. There are other shimmer infinite kind of reverbs, right? I used this in my previous video with Scatterbrain and all of that, and I didn't really get to the description of Alteza that I wanted to because the video was running long. This really has its own personality aside from those other ones that I've featured before. Now, you have to be careful with all of these because with a reverb that runs on so long, it can easily get in the way of other things if you have lots going on in your mix. But everybody's going to go through the presets on this and show them off to you, and they are very cool. That's sick. I mean, that's beautiful. Come on now. But unless you get control of that release, that's going to run into all sorts of things. Okay, so you get the idea. This is really cool. I'm going to go back to the initial preset because I want to show you something. I started messing around with this, and as I always do, I try to break it or try to do something that other people wouldn't do because that's me. I want to go in a different direction. Half of the whole reason I do this channel is to try to inject something into the scene that's unique, that's my own spin on things. So I was playing around with this, and I turned the size and the type down and the diffusion up. And I might have it backwards. Maybe I have to switch them. Maybe the diffusion goes down and these go up. Oh yeah, okay. Alright, we'll turn those off. Okay, so I was playing around with this because I was trying to figure out how to work it. And I was starting to mess with the knobs. and I took these APFs, and I brought everything down to 1, or as low as it could go. Okay, so I thought that was really interesting. All right, I'm going to choose another tone here, because I don't want to have the harmony. I just want to have a single... There you go. That's less annoying than the previous ones. So it's just one note. If we go... Okay, that's the sound we're dealing with. So, we're getting an echo here. Now, I don't know what any of this means in here. I'm going to be honest. I haven't looked at any instruction manual or anything. I'm just going off my ears. I want to learn what these things do based on what it sounds like, because the music I'm listening to, I'm not looking at the music. So sometimes I don't want to read the manual right away. I just want to poke around and see what things do, because maybe if I can hear the change, then I can understand it in a different way. So I started messing with these. So 2, okay. What happens if I go to 3 or 4? Okay, so that makes it take longer to delay. Okay. Okay, so what happens if I add another one? Alright, so let's dial these back a little. Okay, so what happens now if I start putting up the diffusion? I mean, this is super cool, and this was just me messing around. If I turn it back up, then you start to get that sort of reverse reverb. But I thought that was neat. And then if we turn these up, okay, so then maybe we start playing with these ones over here. Well, that doesn't seem to be doing much. Oh, we turn the feedback up. There we go. So, that's already a more interesting and different result than I've gotten from other reverbs. Other reverbs have the standard controls that I'm used to the language for. They have mix, and they have high, and they have low, and they have amount, and they have wet, and they have dry, and I know what those things mean. I don't necessarily know what diff and PTS1 and, source. I'm sure I can figure it out. SRC is probably source. Diff is probably diffusion. I'm not an idiot. I can figure out some things, but I like the not knowing is my point. Because it makes me work in different ways, and I can search without having an end goal in mind. Sometimes I want an end goal in mind. My previous video that I did, I was going for sounds with Bliss Alpha, and so I wanted to get to the point, so I went straight for a specific sound that I knew how to achieve. Here, I'm doing the opposite, where I'm just kind of using my ears to figure out what's interesting. So there's your high-pass filter. Okay, so that's some of the things that I found were interesting about FAC Alteza over some of the other shimmer reverbs. Not better, just different. Again, its own take. Fred has, done it again with another amazing app. The thing I would say is that because it's coming onto the scene where there's already a number of apps that do things that are similar, sometimes it can be hard to know what's better for you, what you're going to like over the other. And there isn't really a trial process for a lot of these apps. So sometimes you have to just go all in. And, $6 can be $6, but sometimes, man, $6 is lunch. So do you buy the app or do you buy lunch? So I understand the dilemma there. You know, I'm just trying to provide you with a little bit of perspective on what makes this interesting. So I dig this app, and I feel like it pairs really well with something like Synclavier Go. I gotta be honest, the Synclavier sounds are not my favorite tones in the world. I prefer more analog style. When we start getting into FM synthesis, I recoil in horror. You know, I used to hate the FM, the DX7 kind of Fender Rhodes electric piano sound. I used to hate that with a passion because I liked actual electric pianos and knew that they didn't sound that way. The Bell thing they didn't sound like that. They sounded meaty and funky, or at least the ones I was used to listening to. It wasn't until much later I was able to have an appreciation for that DX7 sound. So the Synclavier Go, they're not the sounds that like get me all fired up. I would much rather have a Mini Moog for that visceral experience, but I'm finding that there's benefit here if I can frame it in a way that I find palatable, and I do with FAC Alteza. I think it works really, really well for these kinds of FM synthesis kinds of sounds. Oh, let's not do harmonizer. Let's do... we'll go with that. Let's try a different type of sound. Let's go with something. What do they consider evolving? Oh yeah, buddy. That's it right there. Massive sounding. Come on, that's massive sounding. All from just this. That's the bass patch from Synclavier Go. And that's what we got when we kick in FAC Alteza. So I wanted to take a quick look at these apps because I think they're both excellent. Synclavier Go, should you buy it? Well, if you're a Synclavier fan, or you've actually played one and you like it, or you've always wanted one, well, here's your chance to finally get your hands on it. Is it going to bust open the market and be the new hot synth that all the kids are using? Probably not. Who knows? It could be, but I would say probably not. The way to program it is fairly antiquated at this point, to say the least. But you know, it's novel and you can appreciate it from a historical standpoint. And I mean, there's meat in here. You certainly have access to all of the timbres and all of the parameters that you want to be able to do. And there are some guys that have gotten some incredibly rich tones out of this. So it's certainly viable as a way to do it. You know, how hardcore you want to be about it is entirely up to you, I guess. You know, do you like programming the VCS3 like me? I do. Am I going to encounter that in the real world? Probably pretty rarely. But am I having fun? Yeah. So if you're having fun, who cares? So I think that it's totally worth getting. The sound is fantastic for what it is, and it's certainly a fairly accurate representation from what I can tell, not ever having gotten one or had the chance to put my hands on one. But I mean, it seems fairly accurate to me. Should you go buy the big knob for it? You know, the thing's expensive. I'm sure it's cool if you're super into Synclaviers. But I don't have the $300 for it, so I'm good. But yeah, I've been having a blast playing with this. It sounds amazing, and I'm just so happy that I have a Synclavier in my lap. And then as far as FAC Alteza goes, you know, I said it before, Fred Anton Corvez has done it yet again. He's come out of the side gate with the oils and the incense, and, you know, he's just like tearing up the place. He hits it on the head every single time. Fred, I don't know what you do over there, but, you know, keep doing it, man. I have every one of Fred's apps, and they're all totally worth it. There's no one else doing what Fred's doing. His apps are very studied and really well thought out and thought through, and it's as if he sits around and waits and doesn't put something out until he really knows that it's going to punch everybody in the face in the best way possible. So thanks, Fred. Fantastic. I went out and bought it, so thanks for that. So If you like these kind of videos, hey, stay tuned to the channel because we're all trapped inside right now. And so what else do we got to do? I mean, I know we got to go about our business a bit, but hopefully this is a bit of levity and something interesting for you to do while you're staying at home. Stay safe, please. Wash your hands. Stay inside. That's important. This only works if we all do this together. And so, like the video. If you want to see more, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, click on the bell, do the thing with the stuff, and go see me on the place with the other place, the ones with the things, and that one there, I'm on that too, and then I got over here, and then you can go pay me on that site there, and then when you go to the stuff, you can click on the thing, and you can find me there, and you can share it with your friends, and everybody can come see me on the place with the stuff and the videos. And so I will see you guys next time. Later. Have a good time. Stay safe. See you later.